Yeah.
So hello, my name is. Oh my god. Okay.
Start.
Should we start now or? Although my degree is business administration, but after I graduated, I don't quite want to define myself as what I learned because I want to define by the things that I do. So and here I am, a studio manager, enjoying it more or less, but it's okay. Hi, my name is Elroy. I'm from Brunei. I'll be I'll be presenting my art talk. So at first, I'll look pretty first. Okay. All right. So normally my outfit is always a shirt and a denim jacket. Same goes to be right now. I'm like a cartoon character. Same style, different color. I'm from Southeast Asia and the continent of Borneo, the one in the center. So it comes to show that people who are in the center has main character syndrome because literally Borneo is in the center of the whole map of Southeast Asia. And in the island of Borneo, this is where I'm from. I'm from Brunei. Is that one small one behind the back of that huge island that we call Borneo. So I'll explain why I'm telling you where I'm from because it will continue on later onwards in the presentation. So this is the artwork that I'm presenting to you guys on. The left one is a skateboard and the right one is a black denim jacket. I'll name it Dayak Skateboard. Dayak is actually a term or word for indigenous people who resides in Borneo. The indigenous Dayak people in Borneo mostly use these two colors, it's white and black. Black is because the natural colors that we can obtain, and when it oxidizes, it's mostly brown, red, and the longer that the longer that it's exposed to the sun, the red pigments become black. And white is because when you do carve out or expose natural wood, it becomes like a whitish color or a pale color. So in the long run, it becomes black and white. So that's why I use these two colors. It's inspired by the Iban war shield called the Terabai. The Terabai is a war shield that you see here. So you can see that it's quite long, same like a body length, or it could be the same length as a human person. It's hexagonal in shape, and it has a very like a curve and quite a jarring and scary design to it. It's because that when it comes in the dark, when people are hunting, they do want to have their enemies to be intimidated or afraid by them. So that's why they had these jarring eyes. They used the color red and black and white to show the negative space. So that's why it's like it's scary and ugly because it was meant to be scary and ugly. There's more designs that it is for the war shield. Sometimes if you look from this picture on the very left, that sometimes the design it can be only a face or it can be the whole body. It shows in this person, and there's a lot of curves design. Sometimes the design is also reaches to the back as well. Similar, or the design can be in the middle. As you see in the middle, this shield, it has hair on it. The reason why it has hair on it is because it wants to show that this is actually an animal per se. So that's why there's hair. And it's quite funny is that how the Dayak people was able to have this hair is either by were to kill or skin the body of animal, then they put their hair. So it looks kind of like it's a camouflage per se. And then the next one you see on your very right, it's a carved shield. This carved shield is mostly specifically from the Kalimantan part of Borneo, that is Indonesia. Whereas on the left one is mostly on the north and west side of Borneo, that is mostly on like Sarawak part. So this is the different art styles and that the Dayak people in Borneo was able to incorporate inside to their shield. And then you can see, as I said, that the shield can be like the length of the body size. If you can see from these pictures of archives in the Sarawak Museum, it can be as tall as the same from the feet to the shoulders, or it can be same. Sometimes it can be as thick as a wood bark, as a single wood bark, as you can see in this picture. The next one I will present is I believe is the jacket. I'm a very simple person when it comes to naming things. Baju burung in literal translation in English, it means bird shirt or bird suit, because if you were to see from the traditional wear, it does look like it's like a vest, like as if it's like a suit, per se. So this is how it looks like. This is what's called a baju burung. But I noticed that if I were to use this design for the denim jacket, it will be quite noisy and it'll be quite time consuming. This is how it looks like from the bird suit. So you can see there is this man at the very left. He's using he's a shield, and that's a bird baju burung. Same goes to the right. The man is also wearing a baju burung and alongside with Iban woman dancing on his side. I use a different Dayak design, which is much more simpler and attainable. So instead of this design that you see at the left side, I use the designs from the Melanau tribe that's mostly found in Sarawak. This is the design that I got from the denim jacket. The one in the center is in all, the design is actually a totem pole for a burial site. So if you were to look at your left, you'll see the designs, and on top is actually this house per se. The whole thing that you see here is actually a cemetery. Not only that the Melanau tribes put their deceased loved ones on top at the house, but also at the totem, inside the totem as well. So if you were to look at the right side, that's how they were able to contain the deceased body and put it inside the totem. And then there's also some more spaces so that in the future, if there were any more of their family members were to pass away, they were able to open it like a cabinet and put the human remains inside. The reason why most of the indigenous tribes, they bury their family members and loved ones in this style is because that Borneo in the past was mostly a swampy area. So if they were to bury them in ground, most likely the body will float up and then animals would mostly devour the body. So to prevent that, that's why they actually cut and carve out a huge tree to commemorate them and then to store them inside, which is quite interesting that when we think of indigenous people or native people, we always think them as like very unlearned or uncivilized, but yet here we're able to see detailed art and able to think of think of smart ways of how to still contain the human body. That is to carefully carve a wood out of it and then to store their family members and still have room and designs to do what they're doing. I will talk about how I do the art process behind both the skateboard and the jacket. So it's a good thing that I was able to document it. So this is the one in the skateboard one. So this is me taping it up. So I'm only the one that I wanted to paint on is exposed. So I believe it's a 5-minute video, so I can able to explain at the same time. Putting it down and then painting it white first. I like to put it white so it's much more easier and the color will be much more sharper because the pink color still comes through. And then I let it dry. After I let it dry, then I went back and painted black. It took me a while. How am I gonna execute the designs in the skateboard? And bear in mind, I did the design within 3 days of 18 hours. 18 hours, yeah, 18 hours. So what I'm doing here is taping it with mask tape. After when the black is dried, I went out to the store and buy another tape. I printed the designs that I have, find the center of the design and the skateboard, and put carbon graph paper at the back. So I just doing double tape to put the graph paper at the back. Then when I do have the graph paper attached, then I start outlining the black of the design. So when I do press and draw on it, it will transfer to the masking tape on the skateboard. It took me somewhere around, I believe, 45 minutes on this, finding the details, whether if I got it right or not. And then once it's open, so it has that part. I believe this is somewhere around 11:30 p.m. I went back to the studio. So what I do here is that once I already have the black and white, I use a cutter and so that there's a negative space. So it shows this black part. I believe it took me somewhere around like 3.5 hours of doing this. So imagine 11:30 till 3 hours, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, until 2:30 a.m. and doing all of this. So imagine having a time lapse.
3 hours is very fast
doing
to
this.
work.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
actually a
lot
really
of
fast
work.
way to work.
Yeah. And since I use my phone as a time lapse, so I have no source of entertainment. I was just focusing doing my work. Like I just had to do it. This is not the final product of the design. It's just the tape. So what we see here is just the negative space that's soon to be painted over on. I was just painting another white coat all over the design with the tape. I let it dry in a bit. So here it is. So I was quite tired on this one, so I just went back home. So the next day, you can see I have new clothes, but same pants, same shoes. So here what I do is that I took off the tape, so it revealed the black part that was not touched. There's one point where I was resting just now, is because I had a migraine, because it took me such a long time to do it in a short period of time. So it's basically it's just me taking off the tape, which is the simple part, but shows the final designs of the skateboard. So here it is. This is the skateboard finally within 2 days of like 18 hours, and it's done. And the next day I had to submit it to the art exhibition. Yes, yes. So that's how it is. I like to do my artwork last minute because I do believe that pressure builds a diamond. So here it is. So I didn't have a full documentation of my jacket, but I did have a video recording of it for TikTok. So you can see that this whole video for the jacket is mostly TikTok style. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And there's some music as well. I believe it took me 9 hours doing it straight. You know, when we do our composition in English writing or Malay karangan, our first handwriting is pretty, but it got ugly in the end. So this is one good example of it. When we do our art, we do tend to get tired, and we do try to find ways how to execute and finish our project. It shows in the details here.
Even though you said like, oh, it got worse at the end, but like if you people just see from afar, you really can't tell the difference at all. I think it's
true.
executed very well.
And I think so far, I only wore this jacket twice because I was afraid that to get it dirty. If I do to get it dirty, I have to wash it. But if I were to wash it, I'm afraid the paint will wear off. So I do wore this jacket sparingly, but I'm really glad the results of this jacket went well. And if you can see closer to the jacket, the bottom part went to the right side and less on the left side, because as you come to show that when it comes to art with our hand, we can't quite control the symmetry of things. This is actually painstakingly hand painted and hand drawn. People from the past, when they do the art, there are markings and small human errors, which does give character. We good? We good? All right, we good.
Yeah.
Not only that I did the skateboard and the denim jacket, I never expect that I will also be recognized and also to able to showcase my art to the whole public. A month ago, we had a national day, and an artist friend of mine invited whether if I want to have my Dayak design for the national day. This is actually like a 7-foot art piece, and I also took this from the Dayak design. If you ever wonder what are these designs, these are actually vines and tendrils. So people in the past, when they see these designs in nature, they got inspired and then they translated into their artwork. It's amazing that even people in the past, they're able to still convey the natural world into their art pieces and still allowing us to understand what it means or what it represents. Why do I create such art pieces? I am representing the unrepresented in Brunei. The Dayak indigenous tribes are quite well spread out in the whole of Borneo. But sadly in Brunei, we are not recognized as citizens or as like the original tribes of in Brunei, but instead we are recognized as like a second tribes that's unofficialized but still exists in Brunei. When I was given the opportunity to show this huge art piece to the whole public of Brunei, I was excited because only people outside of Brunei know what design it is, but people inside Brunei does not know. It's quite ironic that most of these Dayak designs are quite synonymous with a Bornean identity, but Brunei, being a Bornean country, they want to recognize themselves as a Brunei country only. So imagine Brunei here. As much that we are from Borneo, Bruneians tend to forget that they are also the same Bornean counterparts as Malaysia and also Indonesia that is in Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan. I want to dismantle the stereotypes of indigenous identity. When we think of indigenous people or when we think of native people, we always think of people who have feathers in their heads. They only wear loincloth. They're mostly like half naked or they live in the forest. A bit of it is true. A bit of it is also untrue. And some part of it that we only wear that is because that we are still connected and remember how our traditional attire was. But mostly when people do think of indigenous people, they always think of as uncivilized people who still lives in the forest, who does not wear clothes at all. So at one point that the reason why I put my art in everyday objects like our clothing and a modern day object like a skateboard is to show that, hey, even I am just like you. I wear the same clothes. I live in the same place. I live in the same house as you. I work the same job or I live in the same society as you. So that's the reason why that I have, because, and not only that, I want to dismantle the stereotype that we are more than just uncivilized people. It's because yet here I am using my laptop, presenting, using the internet, and here I'm connecting with people from different countries and different nations. I want to expand the indigenous identity. Although the artwork that I have at the moment is mostly all like clothing wear. Not only that I am doing it, but there are other people. As you can see, a Dayak lady hailing from Sarawak. You can see there is a necklace underneath the collar. It's actually inspired by this Iban necklace. It's called the tango. So as you can see that for the one at the bottom is a traditional tango Iban attire, but palatable in the future and also palatable for today's context. So that's quite a nice modern take on it. At the same time, as I said, in the past, we were known for people who put feathers on their head, but here we see it's the same nature, but yet still elegantly put as an editorial shoot. And the next picture that you see here with her family, that they are wearing their traditional garments, not fully, but just some parts, but yet they are still clothed on today's clothing wear, mostly on black shirts and white shirts for the males, but still has elements of their tribal identity and indigenous identity, which is quite very beautiful, where they're able to incorporate their traditional wear and the modern wear that we are today, and to put it nicely here in this picture. On the very right, this is Hadi. He's from Kalimantan, Indonesia. He's actually a designer that's mostly on an indigenous designer. As you can see that he uses the Iban designs for his suit and also uses which is quite known in Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. That is the sarong. So he uses the sarong Indonesian style and incorporated Bornean designs for the bottom wear. So as a whole, it becomes a suit, a blazer at the top, and then pants, and put on a sarong with Bornean designs, and it looks a really nice, good modern take on it. I'm quite interested on design. I think after COVID, I will reach out to him because I really, really want this outfit. It's really, really pretty. And yeah, it's really, really pretty. So these are the people that I do look up, and not only that I am using my indigenous designs on modern day wear, but these people as well. In Malaysia, this is Berhati. He's quite known of putting traditional ethnic wear in Malaysia into literally life size and also in the streetwear for Malaysians to wear. This is actually traditional wear for the Kadazan Dusun people of Sabah. And then he took it and styled it as a streetwear here in the center. Although the design in the center is not much as the one that is originally from as you see on the left, but at least it is still palatable enough to wear it every day outside on everyday wear, because you don't expect people to wear their traditional costume every day. But at the same time, people do want to show pride, their ethnic and racial identity on the everyday basis. Same goes to the one that we see on the very right, the baju Melayu at the very back, and then the Indian sari, and then the Chinese cheongsam, and also a bit of everyday blouse. He took this normal everyday garment, but yet he made it bigger than life. It's so interesting. It's just like, it's weird. At the same time, it's interesting to wear outside in public. At some point, he got a bit of controversial because people was not happy of having their cultural wear to be put in a large size. But I do believe that he's trying his best to translate traditional wear in the modern times. And this is one example that he's doing. The next one I was showing you is a person from Sarawak as well. Although I did my designs in the skateboard, I'm not the only person who's doing it. So I would like to credit this person to inspire me to do the design. So you can see at the middle, there's a small picture. He also did a design in the skateboard. He did it on a white plywood, clear plywood, and sand it down, burn rods to put dots to make the blacks. He took the coaster of Starbucks to give an homage to this Orang Ulu design that is a man and the man in nature. Our indigenous designs are not only at the past, but it's also able to be in the future, incorporated as well with other modern designs and logos. So yeah, I believe that's the presentation that I have. The next one we'll be going on is Q&A. So if you guys have some questions, you guys are welcome to ask questions on.
About the color, like does the dye do they use like fruit or something?
So how they're able to get pigments and colors
Yeah.
is either from the natural, of course they get it from the natural resources they have plants. So they do
Yeah,
get it
plant.
it's either from plants, the barks of trees, leaves, or dirt. So when they do mash it up, it mostly when they do have that, it becomes red, brown, at times yellow, and at times to be mostly brown. But there are some colors and dyes that they're able to find in nature, but it's quite rare. One of them is like yellow sometimes. There are green, but sometimes greens can oxidize into brown because of leaves. And then there are blue. Blue is quite a rare natural dye that can be found in one plant in Borneo, but it's still quite rare because sometimes the blue also oxidizes into dark blue, sometimes it can oxidize into black. But blue also exists in the pigments, but it's quite rare. One of the other rare pigments that blue also exists, it's also in Japan. So in Borneo, there is a leaf. It's called iban leaf, something like that. But I can't remember the exact name. So that plant was able to make blue. The other pigment, natural pigment that's also found in nature, was able to find in nature is in Japan. It's a kind of mud or the kind of leaf where they dye it, and then when they expose it to air, it's able to be green. So that's one of them. The next pigment is actually the one in Egypt. It's called Egyptian blue. So far in nature, blue is we're able to see blue, but it comes off like to extract it out, it's quite hard. So blue is quite a rare color. But to me, I like to settle on with earth tone colors and black and white because I want to have a good connection with the past designs to show that there's a consistency on it. So yeah, red, brown, green, yellow, blue.
Yeah.
Those are the pigments and colors that's normally found in nature, and black and white. Yeah.
You've already like mentioned like the cultural significance of like the designs you chose. So like, how do you how do you pick your designs, like on what to apply into, like, you know, which modern day objects? The jacket that you made, like, it's derived of a funeral tradition that they have. Like, does that have like some um like relation putting it on like clothes, or do you just like pick whichever looks good?
Firstly, I picked the one that looks good, but at the same time, I do pick where it's able to fully shows and represent the indigenous communities, because sometimes that there are some designs where people are unsure what the designs come from. So that's how the design I was able to do so. But at the same time, I do incorporate those designs in objects that are respectable. For example, I do quite aware that the designs that I have here at the moment, it's actually a design from the for the funeral totems for Milano people. So I choose the denim jackets because, of course, when you do stand straight, you are the same upright like a totem. Same time that I do not want this design to be like a parody or a kitschy style, because to do so it'll be a disrespect to such community and tribes. So at least when I do put it in the jacket, it shows and showcase the designs and the tribes that I'm representing. At the same time that it comes as a conversation piece, so people ask, oh, what is this, what design is it? So it is an opportunity to me to talk about and to represent the unrepresented. So that's the reason why I had this jacket. At the same time, same goes to the skateboard. It's like a canvas. Let's think like the denim jacket, it's quite straight, so it's much more easier for me to do it. So mostly it's one is to it's because it's pretty. Two is an opportunity to have a conversation about it. Three is also on execution, because normally when it comes to all this artwork in the past, it's a craft. It takes months. It takes months or years. But I do not have months or years to complete the work. So I do have to think of a design where it's able to execute it within a week, because it can get quite tiring to do so.
So like those designs are like exclusive to Bornean designs, right? Motifs that like transcend through different tribes, but it's like these are like just like uniquely to Bornean.
Yes, there are really
Nice.
uniquely to Bornean, and although that some of the designs are exclusively of or significantly of different tribes, but because of throughout history, different tribes have shared their cultures, shared and trade with each other. So some of their designs and motifs in their object has traded with other cultures. In the end, it becomes mixed and also added on to it together. So that's why it's like at some point inside me, I would say, do I have the rights to use a Malanao design for my denim jacket? But at the same time, when I did ask my Malanao friends, they said it's okay. It's because we are still Dayak people. We are still Bornean tribes. And we have shared and have dialogue and traded our designs and things that to the point where what mine is yours, what yours is mine. But this is exclusively for those people shared. It's okay to be shared among Bornean people, especially for those people are indigenous people. So that's why I was then after that I was quite comfortable of having this Malanao design on the denim jacket, and also having the ulu designs on my skateboard. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was able to do so. Because to me, I'm from an Iban tribe. If I were to use my designs, Iban design, it's not quite clear. It's not like a clear line. It's more like since it's a weave, so it's kind of like that kind of design. So it's quite hard to have that in a denim jacket or in a skateboard, because or else it'll take a lot of details. So, but at the same time, I'm still allowed to do so, is because the designs that you see are in retrospect, it's a Bornean design.
In the future, I'm actually gonna make a comic, and this comic, the culture is play important role in this story. If I were to design a character from a different background, what advice would you give me? Like, yeah, to make it respectful.
One of the advice is that do ask the people that you are going to represent, and how do they want it to be represented properly and correctly. Because at the same time, do tell them where does the story of this person continues on. At the same time, it also depends on what are you going to incorporate designs and motifs of the Pacific culture and tribe that you are using on. And if you were to incorporate it, how will you use them? Are you going to use them to the point where it's like it's a parody, or is it in the respectful sense? Or is the character is going to be a villain, or is the character is going to be a good person? Because sometimes that throughout in the past experiences, not on my personal experience, but in the past experiences, that a lot of people, when do incorporated indigenous or native people in their storyline, is always on a parody presence. For example, Disney, for example, in Peter Pan, they did put Red Indians people, but they always put the Red Indian in the frame of they are wild people who was willing to kill or hurt people if someone did bad to them. Or for example, in Jumbo, there is people of color, especially people who are black people, but the black people are represented as workers or slaves, especially in their songs. Or Pocahontas. Pocahontas, although as much that we see that they did show that Pocahontas was the heroine of the whole show or a good person, but Disney has represented the story of Pocahontas that she is a friend or a lover of what's the white man's name? Jon Snow? What's the name?
Oh my God,
Jon Snow? Is
Jon
that from
Snow?
Game of Thrones? You mean Jon Smith?
But the reality is that Disney has painted or retold Pocahontas just for the sake of making it good for children. But in reality, that Pocahontas was actually kidnapped and stolen from her tribe, and the colonizer used her as a translator for these colonizers to colonize these tribes. So it really comes to show what is your intent of using this tribal character in your story. And if you were to use it, what would be the effects if this character was to show to other people? Will it have a good effect? Would it have a negative effect? Or would someone understand it as a bad way or a good way? So not only that you should see your intentions, but you should also see the after effects once it's already published out to everyone to see.
Yeah, I think it's like extremely risky because it's like you need a lot of research. You need proper representation. It could be underrepresentation. It could be too caricaturized. There's like so many like risks to go with it. I think on Elroy's part, like you found somebody who was belonging of that tribe to ask permission, or like, you know, like what is valid.
And also Disney does learn their mistake. So that's why they are like trying to regain their respect. So that's why we have Raya and the Dragon, the Last Dragon, where they are representing Southeast Asian stories or motifs and design. So they did the huge research on what designs they're incorporating, how they're mixing it, and if they were to present it, are they going to receive in a positive light or a negative light? Because sometimes some people are quite negative where, hey, why is my design is mixed match with another design? And to us Asian, we will like, oh, I see it. But to a white person in the West, they'll be like, oh, they think that these designs are the same thing. So how are they going to?
Yeah. Actually, I want to know your thoughts about it because a friend of mine.
Have you watched it?
I have watched it at least, but it's like, what do you call that? We had a bit of a debate about like, about like this mixed match of like Southeast Asian, like, you know, motifs and stuff and designs and architecture and stuff, because like you can obviously see there's like Indonesian elements and then suddenly there's like other Asian elements coming in, and it's like, I don't know. Exactly. I like the movie. It's great. It's just
great.
I hope they like, you know,
it's great.
It's great.
I saw myself in a positive light, but to us Southeast Asian, we're able to see designs that familiar to us. For example, the batik when they were making it.
Don't forget wayang kulit.
Yeah, and wayang kulit as well. At the same time, we're able to see the Thailand's Jong Sarat, how Raya was wearing. At the same time, she was also wearing some Filipino garments in her fight, and also like Indonesian Garuda mask that I saw. And there's also some architecture that's very recognizable in Southeast Asia. But at the same time, that is our understanding that we felt represented. But I do want to know what happens if this representation that we felt represented is different translated to outside of Southeast Asia. For example, a Westerner child see this design as the same. For example, this child might see a batik and also a Thailand design as one tribe. That's quite different. But to us, we're able to differentiate it. So it is also quite on Disney part to show that that's why they're able to have behind the scenes showing that, hey, there's different cultures, different countries incorporated inside. There are different designs showing different countries and different designs. So it's nice that Disney was able to always remind us that it is inspired not only from one nation or one culture, but from different nations and cultures in Southeast Asia. So yeah, so far I give it a B+ for representation on Raya. So yeah.
How do you keep the paint in the jacket from fading away when you wash it?
Did some research. How do people paint acrylic and how did they keep it? One, to still keep it, after you finish painting it, you have to iron it. So you put, this is the denim jacket, and then you put paper, then you iron it. You get a bit of smoke because the paint burns a bit, but you get a bit of smoke, then it will stay. At the same time, I rarely use it, or else I'm afraid of the paint to be chipping, but it doesn't chip at all. At the same time, I don't wash the machine it. If you do want to wash it, do dry clean it, but tell people not to mess the one at the back. And the jacket is mostly for like art purposes, so it's in my closet. Someone wanted to buy it, but I was like not interested on selling it.
Okay.
So my question is, based on like your degree in business management, right? How do you think people, like artists, should be pricing their artworks? And maybe you can answer it through the example of like if you were to sell one of your works, if you'd like. Yeah.
So okay, 2 questions there. How would I price my artwork and would I sell my artwork? The first one, how would I price? Of course, every artist and every group of people have their own style or formula. How do they price it? One person, how they price it is through you add in the cost of all your materials, then you times it by 5 or 3. Oh wait, 3 times, or you add in all the cost of your material, then you calculate how many hours you didn't do the artwork. For example, I did the jacket for 10 hours, but I want to charge on like a daily, like a normal working hour. So like I'll charge $30 for 1 hour. So that's like 30 times by 10, 300. 300 art supplies and everything is 150. So that'll be like, if I were to sell my denim jacket, I would sell it for 450. If that is the formula. But there are some people, some artists, they have a different formula as well. One artist, she said that if you do not know, or if you are so overwhelmed with different pricing formula, the easiest way is charge by inch. For example, a paper is a 3" by 5. This is quite a small one. So no, like, is this 3" by 5? 3" by 5. So 3 times by 5, that is $15. So some artists charge by inch per square. So that'll be like, if it's like this, it'll be 15 hours. But even that is quite questionable, because sometimes you might use expensive art materials for the art. So sometimes people will do inch per size plus art materials. So that's all I was saying. To me, I always incorporate the hours and time and the art material. But if you do think that the art is still too low, I do believe in times it by three, because I believe in a quote where know your value and sell your value three times as what it is. Because some people actually do have the money. Some people do. If you really want it, I believe that you might have the money to really want the art that I'm having. But forever, I will always advocate on never sell yourself short, because there is always be someone else out there wanting to have that value that you have. So at times I do feel quite disheartening when someone sells the artwork that could be like $100 for like $10. I was like, no. But the reason why is because they said, oh, there is no market. There is a market. It's just that you have not reached, or your market have not found you, or you have not found your market. So that's answering the first question. The second question is, would I sell my artwork? This could be a whole different topic on its own. Personally, to me, I do not, when I do my designs and do my artwork, my intent of making the artwork is not to sell. My intent of doing my artwork is to represent and to have a conversation on representation. So there was no art value on my skateboard or my denim jacket. Someone did ask me whether if I wanted to sell off my denim jacket or to sell it. I say no, but he was quite persistent, and then I said to him, okay, if I want to sell it, I'll sell it for $600. And he's, oh, okay. I was quite shocked. He actually do have the money to actually buy a $600 jacket, which I got it for $60, and art supplies was like less than $50. But I was quite shocked that he was willing to buy a jacket for $600. But at the same time, I declined his offer, because the jacket was not meant to sell. The jacket was meant to have a conversation on representation. But then it comes to another conversation on what happens to representing indigenous artwork once it is sold. For example, that the reason why I did not want to sell my jacket is that, to me, it represents my culture. It represents representation of unrepresented people. But once I do sell it off to people, that meaning might be different once the person wears it. Because what if the person who wears it is not indigenous? What if the person who wears it is a Western person? To them, to me, it's sentimental, but to them, it's just a novelty thing. So that's the reason why I do not plan to sell the artwork. But if I were to in the future, I do have to keep that in mind. What happens once my artwork is of a different translation or different people to wear?
This is like an ongoing discourse of like, and it's always focused on the artist, like if you sell work that has cultural significance, like is it exploitation or something, or not necessarily cultural significance, but like we never really see the part like what about the customers, like what are the customers going to do with it? Like we just think the moment it's being sold, like, oh, it's the customer's right to use it however they want. But I guess that's very interesting to see, like, the behavior of the customers can like really degrade the quality of the intention that we put into it, but I guess we just really can't control how our customers will use it, even if like, they're going to mistreat it. But I think by putting it out there, it's really up to the artist. Yeah.
If you're planning not to like sell your works, then how do you plan to make a career within the arts industry?
I do not plan to have a career of it, but this is a conversation that is worth having. So it comes to shows that for those people who do art, are they able to create and do art because they love it, or because are they privileged enough to do it? Some people are able to do art because they have the money. Some people want to do art, but they do not have the money. So when I do this art, when I started to jump and to be in the art scene, it's because there's no one who are representing me in the art scene. But it really comes to show that the reason why there's not much of people or representation that I have in the art scene is because at times we have to address that to be in the art community or to be an artist has a sense of privilege that some people are not able to have so. But the reason why I still want to jump into it to show that, hey, there is a representation here. hey, there is able to do it, but sadly, sometimes artists, there are such thing as starving artists like Vincent van Gogh. He didn't have the money, but he still wants to do art. But there are some artists like Pablo Picasso who is able to do art because he has the money, or Salvador Dali, where he's able to have money, he's able to have to do art because he have rich friends who's able to commission art. But I do not plan to do commission per se, but I do plan to do art solely for representation and conversation, as what we're having right now, which comes to show that I'm on the right track of what I'm doing, because my goal is to have a conversation because of my art. Yet here we are having a conversation on my art.
Again, so beautifully answered. Oh, I wish that we could have you more times here in
Yeah.
our virtual studio.
Yeah.
We do not have the conversation where is art for privilege, or is art accessible for everyone to do so?
Yeah.
Or is the art that we see in our exhibition it's because do they have connection? What happens to the art that we are unable to see? What happens to the art where they're too poor to have a connection where we have right now? So that's the reason we're like, okay, there's more reasons why I have to do this. There's more reasons why I want to do this, because when we posted the poster that we're having this art talk, there's still a lot of Iban people and indigenous people actually came out to be, oh my god, I'm so excited! This is the first time I'm actually seeing people who are having an art talk on our culture. Well, which is quite nice is that finally that the people who was not represented felt represented, which is more reasons why I still continue what I'm doing today. So yeah, if you guys going back to university, ask yourself or ask your artist friends, are we privileged? Who are we excluding because of this privilege? And yeah, it can be a good conversation in an art talk or in art exhibition. Yeah. I believe this artist really does resonate with me. At the same time, when it comes to native or indigenous artists showcasing their art to us, we really do have to keep in mind, who are we showing this art for and what message does it convey to them? I believe that when he did art, he is conveying this art message to non-indigenous people or non-native people, which is also great. There is a message. But ultimately, I do believe that indigenous and native people are artists wanting to create art not for the gaze of outsiders, but for the gaze for ourselves only. But at the moment,
Yeah.
in order to share that, we do have to let people know what is our message. Is in the end, we have to utilize public gaze. There is an indigenous artist that is from America. I do not know his name, but he's starting to showcase his artwork less for the public gaze, but more only for native and indigenous gaze. That is like a message only understood for native, by native, and for native, totally excluding other people, to expand the narrative of representation. So yeah, that's one of them.
I
Well,
like that.
different
You know,
conversation, but
about how like I like that it's like only accessible to people of that community and stuff. You
yeah,
know, like you don't
exactly.
have to owe to everybody or like only outsiders.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Thank you for listening my presentation, and thank you for giving me opportunity of showing my indigenous designs and art and representation of indigenous people. I do hope that this presentation or this conversation do give insight on what I do and what I represent. And I do hope that it's able to grow much more bigger than this in this art virtual studio that we're having. And thank you for making me the first artist as the virtual studio.
Promote yourself. Your
My
online
handle,
Yeah.
everything.
my handle is Elroy Ramantan. So you can follow me in
Um,
Instagram. Mostly follow me in Instagram. That's where mostly I do I show my art, and also importantly, watch my Instagram story. Sometimes that's where I like to put my art stuff and stupid things as well. So yeah, share, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I do have some artwork in the works.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, show us.
Yes. Show us.
Not many people seen it. No, not many people. Nobody has seen it yet because it's still in the works, but it's supposed to be in the table. But I can show you. So I put the Bornean tendrils design and mash it up together with Keith Haring design. So this is how it looks like. What's 8 times by 5?
We're artists, not math. We don't know. It doesn't matter.
32.